chim đa bầu.
Court is in session with Ryan in Sacktown on If You Don't Like That. Now, Ryan in Sacktown.
Oh, must be Ryno.
Holy moly, chim đa bầu.
Court is in session with Ryan in Sacktown on If You Don't Like That. Now, Ryan in Sacktown.
Oh, must be Ryno.
Goes in for the dunk, and the San Antonio Spurs have done it.
We have a changing in the
There will be a
guard.
new champion
Face
in the
of the
NBA. A
NBA.
new
That is
era
Victor
has
Wembanyama.
It's Wemby's West. The Spurs are going to the NBA Finals. Look at the emotion.
How about that? Game 7 goes into Oklahoma City and takes the throne from everybody else in the league, including SGA. So a lot to talk about. Now, look, I get it. I've been looking at the reaction all weekend since the Spurs won Game 7, about the fallout of this whole thing for the Kings. And let's make one thing clear right off the jump. The Kings were not going to the NBA Finals with Mike Brown and De'Aaron Fox and Harrison Barnes. They weren't, at least where they were at when the transactions took place. So I think we have to acknowledge that before we start the conversation. However, when you look at the two unilateral decisions that were made by this owner that have been documented as made by this owner, it brings up some of the worst trades, worst decisions in a franchise history. You can have really bad decisions on huge players that will be at the top of the list, but you look at how this unfolded and the lack of foresight in which this was headed, it's crazy. So we're going to revisit it. We're going to talk about it. Before we do that, I wanted to let everybody know we kick off our week with a Jerry Reynolds Wednesday. Jerry will be here. Looking forward to that. We will have him every week. And starting tonight, every Monday, Grant and Ryno. I will be joining Grant 7 o'clock tonight to digest some of this, preview the NBA Finals. What the heck happened to Mitchell Robinson's finger? Still trying to figure that out. Had surgery. That's like the X factor to me in this series. But I had the Spurs in 6. It ended up taking them 7. Congrats to them, man. Talk about, I will say this. These are right now the two best, and understand how I am defining teams. These are the two best teams left in the NBA. Teams that are playing as teams. So I'm super excited for the finals. I know it's bittersweet for some of you. Before we get to your comments, because I want to get to them right away, before we get into the meat and potatoes of the show, couple NFL transactions, big ones. The NFC West just got its exclamation point as the strongest division in the NFL, hands down. Let's start Mondays as we always start Mondays. If you know what that means we are going to our Motivational Monday from Scott Perry. Super short, super sweet. Scott, hope the trip to San Antonio was good. He was meeting with a player in the draft. If you're still looking for that one person that can change your life, just take a look in the mirror. That person will be staring back at you. Scott, I like it. We're not making fun of Scott. I enjoy these. The only thing missing from that was hashtag Shamo. Come on. You got to give Michael some credit there. That's kind of Michael's shtick right there. Little man in the mirror. One other bit of news. The Kings did have some workouts today. Those were the players that were in the G1C this morning, getting some action, having the Kings look at them in person. But as I said, I want to get to all of you. And by the way, it might now make sense why that Miami Heat deal that was reportedly offered to the Bucks for Giannis, why they were waiting, or why there wasn't more smoke behind that being a strong possibility, because of this series that just ended. So, all right, hit me with it. By the way, Icebox, thank you very much. Very cool. What's it say? Enough. I love it, dude. Good stuff, man. Got your thing in the mail. I'm rocking it. Here we go. Red California NBA Finals with old point guard versus old Kings head coach. Yes, indeed. Vivek needs to sell. We'll get into it. Lambs overpaid in the Myles Garrett, or the Rams. The Lambs? Is that what you call them? The Lambs? Sure. Yeah, everything you said.
For sure. Everything you just said.
That's kind of the Rams thing, right? The Rams don't really care about the picks, as my guy Jim Rome says. F those picks. Les Snead. It's starting to make a little bit more sense why they took a quarterback high, if that was in their plans or hoping. Yeah, Jared Verse, first-round pick, 2028 first-round pick, by the way, and a couple of other picks. I think we'll get into it. Some other stuff. Sea-Dog, welcome back. I haven't seen you in here in a minute, dude. Welcome back to the party. Spurs in 5. Wemby is the best player in the world now. Vivek needs to go for sure. We'll get there. Did you notice my hat today? Look, I'm trying to please you. See, it's a Kings upside down, because that's how this city is feeling right now. But you really shouldn't be feeling that way, because the writing was on the wall. The feeling really is, where's this headed? Like, can you recover? Yes, you can recover. Certainly. You can't recover overnight. The new draft rules don't help. Like, I get it. With two decisions that you literally went over your GM's head on. And then you marched him out in front of the media and had him fall on the sword. How many more years do we need to see our mistakes in the finals? Well, Charles, Luka was not just the Kings' mistake, the Suns' mistake, the Hawks' mistake. Malone, okay. Luka, now we're getting them all. Halliburton. I get it. Pack Wemby up, son. Nixon 4. I wonder, I really do wonder about this series is going to matter. The rest versus the Spurs coming from that Game 7 hard-fought series, winning on the road. That Game 7, it can either be a bump or it can be a hangover. In Cleveland's case, for the first 3 quarters, it was a bump against New York, and then it turned into the biggest hangover that's still going on right now in Cleveland, getting swept. So Wemby's playing a lot of minutes. You saw in this last series, he looked tired at times. So does a long series. It is in the Spurs' best interest to wrap this up early, but I don't think it's going to be that easy. I really don't. What's up? How you doing? Sell the team? Sell the team. How'd you get that one? That's pretty good because it applies to like so many different teams. How's that 2 ex-coaches and 3 former Kings guards going to the finals in the last 3 years? Okay. There's levels to this. I didn't even plan to talk about Halliburton today. That ship has sailed. And quite frankly, that ship, well, okay, we'll kind of tie into that with Domas because that's the last tie to Halliburton. And if you handle Domas the way you handled Fox, that's what's concerning, right? That's what's super concerning because I question, I really do, if Russell Westbrook was a Scott Perry move or if that was a Vivek Ranadive to Scott Perry move, right? Because if that's what it was, that is now, and I love Russ. I had my mind changed covering Russ this season. I love him as a person. I love how he's a great teammate to the guys. You can't ask Russ to not be Russ. If Russ is going to be playing minutes, he's going to be Russ. And that's what happened this season. And there were some highlights here and there, very few and far in between, a triple-double, him passing a ton of people on different charts, most assists by a point guard. I get all that. But that was not technically a great basketball decision for this season. And that would make 3 really bad basketball decisions in a row from the owner of this Sacramento Kings team. But I can't confirm if that was his move. Feels like a Vivek move, especially considering you had a logjam at guard. Maybe there was some thought he could play multiple positions with Keegan getting injured after the first preseason game. But Mike Brown, De'Aaron Fox, Vivek Ranadive, 100%. And we will go back and visit the documentation and look at the reports that have been out there for years. What is our pick going to be? It's either going to be Kingston Flemings or Darius Acuff. If Acuff is available, it will be Acuff, in my opinion. However, I think Flemings is a better long-term fit. Just saying. And we'll talk to Jerry about all that on Wednesday. Cat going to be all up in Wemby. You got to be careful with that because Cat, and by the way, we'll talk about it too in a second. I'm going to give you my MVPs of Game 7, and it's not Wemby. We'll talk about all that in a second. I want to get to all of you first, though. The Kings were going to the NBA Finals. No, they were not. Tristan, you're just looking for your sound drop, dude. You're looking for shameless plugs, Tristan. Don't think I don't know your game. I've caught on to it. And you're going to get it in real time when Jerry's here on Wednesday. Because he knows Jerry's going to pipe in. Because Tristan's going to say something silly. You know?
Tristan, pay attention.
That's what Tristan's looking for right there.
Come on.
I am too. I am happy for De'Aaron Fox. I'm happy for Harrison Barnes. I'm happy for Mike Brown. All of them. Like, 2 things can be true at once. And that's where I think, like, the attention needs to be shifted in some light. Like, people that are turning off the finals because you think that would have been the Kings, don't do that. Don't. If you're turning off the finals because it hurts too much, then yeah, that's your prerogative. But that wasn't going to be the Kings. It's just this should not have left the Kings. This is the point of today. This wasn't going to be the Kings with those guys and that coach, but the Kings shouldn't be where they are today without those guys. That is the point of this show today. That's it. It shouldn't be where it is at now. And where is it going to stop? How is it going to stop? Just not sure. That was deep. Thanks, Icebox. Melvin Council is legit. Okay. Cool. Go Spurs go. Lynn is a happy man. Your hat sort of looks like the Pac-Man ghost. Interesting. Don't know the Pac-Man ghost. What's up, Baki? What's up, Tedora? Tedora, before the bad message, hugs and love for Ryno and Sacramento. Good night. Good night, Tedora. Get some rest. School tomorrow. Do you need to trade up for a cuff? No. I don't think so. I don't think he's that player that you trade up for. The Kings need to retain as much draft capital as they can, in my opinion, at this point. So, all right, let's go through the rundown. Some things to talk about. We already told you who was in the building for the Kings working out today. We'll put that up one more time for you. None of your top guys, but the Kings did reportedly meet with one of the top guys, Scott Perry, over the weekend. Flew out to San Antonio to meet with Kingston Flemings. I really like that. I think he is a better long-term solution, possibly at the point guard. But as we said, Spurs headed to the NBA Finals. I posted the video of our post-game show after the Spurs won on Saturday night, and it was me just after seeing the Spurs in person this season. That was what changed my mind. That there was no, oh, they're a year away. They were championship ready. Seeing Wemby in person, seeing it, look at what they did after the game. It looked like they won the NBA Finals, but like they were looking for people to hug. This group's bought in. This group is close. They're tight knit, and you know what's super scary? They're young. They're young. That's what's insane about it. So that's when I knew. Like, it's it. They're going to the finals now. You got the Knicks waiting in the wings. I think this is going to be a really good series. We've got a couple of days to digest it. Begins on Wednesday. We'll break it down with Jer on Wednesday. He's going to join us at 3:30. That will be the time every Wednesday for the most part, unless something comes up. I think this is going to be at least a 6-game series. I think it's going 6. It starts in yeah, look at that. We got a haunted horse sighting. Doesn't know Pinky, Inky, Blinky, and Clyde. So what? The ghosts have names? Is that what you're talking about? Interesting. Hey, Ryno, I finally get a chance to talk with you live. I'm on my way to work. I have been in Nick's van for 20 or fan, I'm guessing 29 years. Never thought I would wait 27 years and be 51 years old to see my team get here. We'll enjoy it. Freaking enjoy it. You know, I did not think coming about halfway through this season, I was not sure it was going to happen. And last week we talked about Mike Brown implementing really that two-headed. I've talked about it. I'm the only guy in town talking about it from the Beam Team time. The idea behind not having the true point guard was to have this different two-headed monster at point guard that were completely different. A big man that can pick you apart with his passing, and another guy that's a point guard, scoring point guard that can get by you before you even blink. And that's why it works so well. And they have gone to a model of that. Cat is running the offense if they're not doing pick and roll with Jalen Brunson. So much credit to Mike Brown. Now, there is still a lot of Tom Thibodeau influence with this team, especially on the defensive side of the ball. But credit to Mike Brown. I did not think that they would be in the finals 3 months ago. So enjoy it. Absolutely enjoy it. Yep, there is a sighting. Good to know. And I can't believe those ghosts have names. Hope Wemby buckles down, becomes the true future Hall of Famer. You know what? His attitude is so damn refreshing. You want to talk about a solution to load management, a solution to bad all-star games? That's it. Right there. A guy that's going to set a tone, a guy that is going to set a bar where like this ain't acceptable if you're not at least at this level. He did that a little bit with this last All-Star game. He's just got a fresh, different mindset, and he's so young. He's 22. Wait till he grows into that body. It's scary, scary, scary. Yes. Okay. So let me know. Did anybody learn something new over the weekend? I learned something new. So it's almost becoming a weekly thing where my son and I go to Elk Grove Cards and Comics, best card shop in the area. Go give them some support. Love them. Mom and pop shop. Been going there since I was my son's age. And so we go. He gets his Pokemon cards, and they've recently had the WWE cards in stock. So my son thinks it's great that we're starting to collect together. And I got this really different looking card out of a cheaper box of WWE cards. And so what do? I hit up Adam. I'm like, this card looks different. And he goes, dude, that's a case hit. I'm like, a case hit? What the heck does that mean? So I learned what a case hit is. I got a case hit, a Shawn Michaels case hit. There you go. Truth. Appreciate you, MC. Love MC. Do you collect Pokemon cards? I do not. My son does, though. It's cute that Mark is talking sports again. Yeah. Mark Uso talking sports. So, okay, my MVPs from this weekend. Wow. We hear from, we've got some audio from De'Aaron Fox, Victor Wembanyama, etc. Mark Davis's crew is my MVP of the weekend. They are my MVP of Game 7. They officiated that game beautifully. Well done, gentlemen. Anybody disagree? I thought that was one of the best officiated games of the series. I thought it was one of the more fair officiated games of the series. And when I go back and I look at it, because I watched a little. No, okay. This is what we do in the King's Court. We go on tangents. I played Pac-Man, but I'm not really video game guy. I'm not. I'm basketball, like film, X's and O's, dude. Not video games. But I mean, I'll go back and look. We'll see. Can't wait for the league to move on from the existing mentality. Looking at you, LeBron James. Yes, I heard Donovan Mitchell's comments. I've heard all of it. What about Yusuf Nurkic calling Mike Budenholzer an alcoholic? I'm paraphrasing on a podcast. Like, what are we? I don't understand what some of the players are doing. I just don't. It's really weird. Antonio Daniels was talking about it earlier today, and I'm completely with him. Speaking about the new face of the NBA, Victor Wembanyama after Game 7.
Put into words what you're feeling right now.
Winning the Larry O'Brien, it's a childhood dream. And having a real shot at it, having a chance, tangible chance at winning it, at realizing a dream, it's a chance. It's a lifetime chance, you never know when it's going to happen again. But it's, the day we win it, speaking for myself, it's going to be an amazing day of like realization of a dream, It's hard to put into words. It's almost like the meaning of my life,
Vic, along those lines, after the gold medal game in Paris, you had said you worried for your opponents in a couple of years. A couple of years later, is this kind of what you had in mind when you said that?
Kind of, but I don't worry really for them. I'm not worried. I'm worried about us winning, That's what I'm thinking about.
We'll hear some more from him as the show goes along. I thought about this after watching the game back a little bit on Sunday. And here's what I thought about. this whole foul merchant thing with SGA, and it's fair. It is actually true, but I don't see it as disrespectful. I actually kind of see it as a little bit of a hole in his game. And I look at DeMar DeRozan, I look at some of the other players that play the mid range in a very similar fashion is SGA, and his game needs to take a step. I understand he's the 2-time MVP. He's been to the conference finals 2 years in a row, won championship, MVP there. But the missing part in his game is he's too focused on drawing the fouls and not enough focus on finishing the shots. The whole point of drawing the foul is to get the extra point on top of the shot. It's not just to get 2 free throws. Now, sometimes in the playoffs, it's to get a little bit of a rest. That's the best type of rest a star can get while being in a game, is when somebody is at the free throw line, even them to a degree. But that's the flaw. Like, I'm looking at all these different fouls that he drew, especially the one on Champagny, where he's stepping back and there is no physical way in the world he could ever make that shot because of the angle his body's at, because he's completely set up for the foul. So he's good enough to draw the foul, and it annoys the hell out of a lot of NBA fans, but he's got to be able to finish those shots. Maybe not the ones that are beyond the three-point line all the time, but the stuff in the mid-range, that's got to improve. Like, it's a halfway skill at that point. It's a semi-advantage. It's not a full advantage. And the best guys do that. They know where the contact's going to come from, and they're still focused on the rim. They're looking at the rim. SGA's looking at the defender. So that's got to get better. Foul merchant is fair, but that, to me, and he pulled no punches. They did not meet their goal. He did not meet his goal this season, and they failed. I respect that. That's refreshing, but that jumps out. So foul merchant, to me, not disrespectful, but he needs to capitalize on that. That will be the next evolution of SGA, hands down. Now, let's talk about this. This was a major problem. Let's Hartenstein. Let's talk about Chet Holmgren. Yes, Holmgren. Not Gren, Holmgren. What happened to this guy? He looks scared on the court. Let me put it this way. When you look at usage rate, okay, when you're looking at how much a team is using a player, how much a team or a player is helping their team, a lot of times you turn to usage rate. Chet Holmgren is 7-1. Chet Holmgren is supposed to be the guy that can not negate Wemby, but make Wemby's life a little tougher. Chet Holmgren's usage rate in Game 7 was just a tad over 8%. Every other Thunder player who played in that game was at least in the mid-17s. Your top, Russell Westbrook, let me give you the top end of usage rate. The year that Russ won MVP and had all the triple doubles, he was around a 35%. So I want to give you both sides of the spectrum. So you don't usually see much more than 35%, but 8% is so far on the extreme for a guy that is making the amount of money that Chet Holmgren is making. And let's move away just from usage rate. The guy took 2 damn shots in the game, and none of them came after the first quarter. You can't have that game. Wemby had 5 fouls, and the plan was to draw another foul on him. And what's he do? He just flops. He falls down. For this whole feud between him and Wemby, which I think is kind of semi there, Wemby with 5 fouls during the fourth quarter is helping Chet Holmgren off of the ground while play is going on, and they're still in the half court. This is a massive problem for the Thunder. Sam Presti is very calculated. He's not going to make a rash decision when it comes to big decisions. But let's look at the Thunder's payroll really quick. Because can we almost agree that this is the worst of Victor Wembanyama that we're going to see? He's only going to get better. And I understand that they were without AJ Mitchell. I understand for the most part they were without Jalen Williams this series. But that's still, that even actually makes it worse. The Spurs were not doing anything special to take Chet Holmgren out of the game. Chet Holmgren took himself out of the game in one of the biggest game they had played in this season. You can't, and I don't know how you bounce back from that. I don't know what's next there. Like, if you're one of his teammates, it's on your mind. Like, you don't think he quit on the team or anything like that, but it's on your mind. And under or just be above 8% usage rate. Usage rate is calculated by anything that contributes towards a basket. So an assist, an offensive rebound, making the basket. That's how usage rate is determined. Just over 8%. It can't happen. Like, so as I say it can't happen, I digress by saying now I understand why it appears the Bucks were sitting back and waiting. The OKC Thunder, as we sit today, I don't agree. You know what? I don't disagree with you. And at the NBA level, that's when I say that's a problem. He's not the next Ben Simmons. He's not, but he can't. For us, for people like you, look at MC, he was scared, Ryno. He knows Wemby's better from playing him at the Olympics. That's fine. Somebody can be better, but that doesn't mean you don't stop going at them. In like the biggest game, is Chet on a milk carton? Good question. You know what I would say? Yeah, probably, for sure. Everything you just said. Yeah, he's probably on a milk carton. Okay, so everybody next year is under contract. Everybody on the roster right now for OKC, they're under contract. They have 15 guys under contract coming back. Chet is obviously part of that. Look at the money that he is owed. 41.25, 44.5, and then 47.850. The Thunder are firmly in the second apron as we sit. Not to mention, they have 3 picks coming up, prominent picks in this NBA draft that reportedly are being shopped around. You can't keep everyone. So there is more than enough ammunition for the Thunder to engage the Milwaukee Bucks in talks for Giannis Antetokounmpo. And really, that might be the best thing that you can do if you are the Oklahoma City Thunder. I don't think Giannis's style clashes as much as it does with somebody like a Wemby. So I think it works with the Thunder. Now, does Giannis want to go to the Thunder? Well, does Giannis want to win championships? Or does he want to be in a better city? Does he want to be the sole star? I don't know. I can't answer that. But there is no one better suited to go after Giannis right now. And there is no way Sam Presti is not thinking about Giannis after what happened in Game 7. Like, if we made a list of guys to maybe negate Wemby, maybe not cancel him out, but make it a stalemate on a down night for Wemby, Giannis is in the top 3 or 4 names on that list right now that are in the NBA. So don't be surprised. And I was saying this last week. I think Oklahoma City makes the most sense for Giannis Antetokounmpo. But if you're Milwaukee now, maybe like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, because if you didn't know, Chet Holmgren, third team All-NBA, he's an All-NBA player. He's one of the 15 best players in the NBA. But if you're Milwaukee and you just saw that, now granted, different conference, so you don't have to worry about Wemby 4 times a year. But if you just saw that, is that the young guy that you want to go build around? OKC would have to sweeten it. They've got the picks that Milwaukee's asking for. Do not be surprised. Do not be surprised if that ends up being something that begins to heat up. Because Oklahoma City, as much as I said that Miami offer was really, really good, Oklahoma City can do much, much better. And they're going to have to do something. They're going to have to do something. You've got a couple of options. I would not be surprised if Lou Dort is not with them next year. You're definitely keeping Jared McCain. Look at the payroll number there. They've got some decisions. Good decisions. Very good decisions. Dirk the Daring. I don't know who Dirk the Daring is. Is that like a surprise? Dirk the Daring. No idea. No idea. So, anyways, that's where we're at, man. Wednesday, series kicks off. This is going to be fun. Begins in San Antonio. The Spurs are a slight favorite in the series. I don't know which way I'm going. I mean, actually, I do. I have to go with the Spurs because I made them my pick to win the championship. I made them my pick to beat the Thunder months ago. So I got to ride with San Antonio, but I will tell you, I won't be surprised at all if the Knicks win. I actually think San Antonio, and I said this last week, is the better matchup for the Knicks. So that's kind of the summary. We can talk NFL on the back end, but really kind of what we're here to talk about because of the overflowing reaction that I saw on social media, both to some things that I posted, to other things that other, people that follow the Kings post, is just I don't know what the right word is right now. I don't know what the right word is to summarize how this fan base is feeling. Dejected, and I sat here 2-3 weeks ago and said, don't be mad that you're going to see these guys in the conference finals. If you don't like it, turn it off, but don't hate on them. And what it comes down to is Vivek Ranadive. Vivek Ranadive. De'Aaron Fox. Mike Brown. We're going to get into it in a second. We're gonna break it down to where it all started. But De'Aaron Fox after the game on Saturday.
Fox, De'Aaron, first of all, congratulations on the win. This one a closer contest than a few others in the series. What was it like closing out the game in the fourth quarter of Game 7 and knowing you guys are Western Conference champs?
It feels great. It feels great. This is just another stepping stone to the ultimate goal that we want, but we're going to enjoy it tonight and tomorrow. Got to start thinking about the Knicks.
You talk about the ultimate goal. When you arrived in San Antonio, the goal was to compete for championships. You're now heading to your very first career NBA Finals. What does this moment mean for you personally?
It's great. It's great. I think, I've been through so much in my career, and being able to come here and kind of immediately compete for a championship. We knew that we had the talent. Everybody talk about, do we have the experience? Obviously Mitch was the first year coach. Does he have the experience? All these things, but I think B. Wright in the organization built a great coaching staff. They put together a great group of guys, talented group of guys. And I think we show resilience, especially having to come here for a Game 7, probably one of the loudest arenas that I've played in my life, and coming through with a win. It feels great being able to go to the finals.
You got a lot of talent, but also a lot of youth. As you mentioned, Mitch, a first-year coach, a lot of youth on this team. This is one of the youngest teams in the association. As a veteran and that veteran presence in the locker room, how do you kind of navigate keeping everyone together through these moments, whether it's a Game 7 on the road or a long journey to get to this place where you're at now?
Just trying to keep guys calm. I mean, we have a bunch of pit bulls and bulldogs back there that are just ready to go. And a lot of times my job is to just make sure we're stable because, a game can get out of control and out of hand, obviously, quickly. But I think that's my job whenever I'm in there, especially with Dylan and Steph. Like, they have the utmost talent. They have the size. They have the athleticism. Sometimes they just got to be calmed down and they're able to do their job.
When you say talent, size, and athleticism,
yeah, I kind of thought the same thing a little bit, but he only got that one playoff season of the Sacramento Thunder. I mean, yeah, it's here and there during the regular season, but nothing like the playoffs. So, all right, let's get down to it. The Kings, 48 wins, 3 seed in the West. This team comes together and, really surprises everybody. It wasn't something that any of us really anticipated, only than that one guy at Summer League who walked out after the Kings won Summer League and said, Kings playoffs this year, whatever he said, Kings championship this year. And all of a sudden this thing comes together and you've got this idea. It was the perfect storm. You've got this idea that the owner is finally taking a step back. We're not thinking about 4-on-5 basketball anymore. We've got the Stauskas pick behind us. The Pete D'Alessandro days are not being mentioned, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And by the way, that step back included having a quote-unquote committee to hire the next general manager who would then hire the next head coach of the Kings. And so, at least from a public standpoint and from many fans' perspective, this was a step forward. So, as I said, perfect storm of Vivek taking the step back, this team somehow becoming an offensive juggernaut, which was very unexpected, and being one of the most exciting teams in the NBA. Monty McNair, a GM who really hung his hat on, he always wanted, there's one word, if you're going to ask me about Monty McNair, if I had to describe him in one word, fluidity. His rosters always had fluidity. You never had that one bad contract on the books. So if something was not clicking, if we run it back and we don't have enough, we still have options to go out and play with. And at this time, the Kings are not being looked at as, the lower bottom barrels of the NBA. They're being looked at with some respect from a national perspective. So it's not like the Kings necessarily need a discount when you make a transaction with them. Or I said the other team doesn't want a discount when you make a transaction with them. And so all's well. You make the playoffs. And when you go back to the Halliburton thing, look, at the end of the day, yes, Tyrese Halliburton is going to be a better player than Domantas Sabonis. He's a special player. He is probably closest to having, or that guy that would have been the guy that the Kings have never had. So you say, yeah, we let him go, but you also got Domantas Sabonis. And with Domantas Sabonis, you break the playoff drought. Fox was not doing it on his own. And so, yeah, disappointing. You lose in 7 games, but then you run it back. So much so that Monty McNair extends Domantas Sabonis that summer in between the playoff run and the 46 win season. And again, you look at the roster, fluidity. There was not that one bad contract on the books. That 46 win season, the Kings have a ton of injuries. up and down. You're trying to see some other guys get minutes that aren't getting minutes consistently. You've got some stuff with Mike Brown. Mike Brown gets criticized for not or going to Terrence Davis in game 7 instead of going with a defensive stopper and Davion Mitchell. And then you get to the next year and, Davion Mitchell's getting some more tick. The Kings kind of change their style of play. It becomes a little bit more aggressive, defensive, because it had to. Games were now a race to 100 by the end of the season. And you have these 2 matchups with Dallas to finish the season off, not to finish it, but really they were going to decide whether or not the Kings were going to make the playoffs. And the Kings lose both matchups at home. They were those back-to-back games. You think you had a 2-day break in between games. Luka spent one of them at Golden Corral, if I remember correctly. And so that's what ultimately set the Kings into the play-in, where they got bounced in the play-in. So by the Pelicans, no surprise there. The Kings struggled with the Pelicans that season. So when I look at Monty McNair, fluidity is the word that came to mind. And you saw there was a degree of caution when it came to making moves, maybe so much so that it hurt the Kings. But that caution also showed that you didn't have Vivek Ranadive at least pounding down Monty McNair's door. And for what we could really tell, it seemed like Vivek and Mike Brown, although sometimes in the press you'd get a little nugget or a little crumb here and there that might make you think they weren't aligned, but they were pretty aligned, not bad. And so you get to 48, you get to 46, which coming off of the years before that, the lean years, it's like, okay, you just put really good back-to-back seasons together. Even if the 48 win year is one that you look back and say, well, the Kings were really healthy. 48 wins doesn't usually get you the 3 seed. Guess what? It did that year. Every season's different. So you can't look at it that way. And so what happens going into that summer? There's this big push. And I was one of them. I was in that boat. I was in the boat of extend Mike Brown. Why not extend Mike Brown? He was the unanimous coach of the year when the Kings made the playoffs, the only unanimous coach of the year. There seemed to be a degree, I'm going to say it, of culture, of foundation in Sacramento. And Mike Brown's team decided to go public and make some comments, leak some stuff that the Kings weren't willing to do. They don't want to pay him a fair wage on an extension. Now, granted, there was no reason to extend Mike Brown if you wanted to make that argument, and you could. Grant made that argument all the time, right? But what ends up happening? Mike Brown gets his extension. And I think that is where things started to get a little bit shaky. Vivek Ranadive was not high on doing that extension. We didn't know it at the time, but it seemed like a fair deal between both sides, where there were incentives where Mike could make up to $30 million for the duration of the contract if he was able to hit those incentives. So you roll into the next season, you throw Mike Brown, DeMar DeRozan, which was a little bit of a difficult adjustment to figure out how you're going to play. And to me, the DeMar DeRozan deal, Monty McNair. So I'm tracking all along. These all feel like Monty McNair things. They're in line with Monty McNair. If I'm going to look back on Monty McNair and say one thing about his time, if I had to point out one criticism, it would be reluctancy. It was being reactive rather than proactive sometimes. There were teams that did not give up much that were very close to you in the standings to improve their teams at the same positions of need that the Kings had. And those teams went past the Kings. So that would be my only criticism to that point. But even with DeMar DeRozan on the books, this roster had fluidity. By the way, Monty McNair, exec of the year too, if you didn't remember that as well. And so that's when things start to come off the rails. The Kings get off to a weird start. They have an awful regular preseason. They had an awful preseason, and this is where we start to hear whispers of stuff that's going on. The Kings go through the losing streak with Mike Brown at home that's capped off by De'Aaron Fox and missing that closeout, missing that defensive play, and they ended up losing. It's not a secret Vivek Ranadive has a group around him that he keeps. He likes to keep a big group of quote-unquote consultants. So this Monty McNair, who does not like bad contracts, who likes to keep things fluid, who has been more reactive than proactive. Like, why would Monty McNair want to take on Zach LaVine when he could have taken on Zach LaVine every season that Monty McNair was here? That makes no sense. We did the Kings Court for a summer that was go Kings, stay the hell away from LaVine. That's how we signed off the show, as a joke, because it was so ridiculous that Zach LaVine could come to Sacramento. So Mike Brown, after the game against the Pistons, has some things publicly to say about Fox. Consultants equal idiots, yes. Has some things to say about De'Aaron Fox in that play. Next morning, Mike Brown talks to the team. De'Aaron Fox apologizes to the team for missing that play. They practice. Mike goes around, consults every player in the gym while they're shooting free throws at the end of practice. They hop into their whips. Yes, they're whips because they're all expensive. And head off to the airport. And Mike Brown gets a phone call on the tarmac, firing him. Not only does Mike get fired, but the team plane is waiting after that on the tarmac. Waiting. Because they didn't know who was going to be the interim head coach. They had to wait on that decision. Does that seem like a Monty McNair move to you? No, not really. That seems like a Vivek Ranadive move. So I go to Sam Amick's article in The Athletic. Sam talks about how they really didn't know, some of the players, especially De'Aaron Fox, the power structure at this time, who's in control. And this all fires up after Mike Brown's extension. The meddling that's always there, but had cooled off to a certain degree, has now started to heat up again from your owner. I'm going to quote the article here from Amick. Fox was well aware of these dynamics, and when the time came for a final decision to be made on Brown, league sources said that the truth that bothered Fox most was that his voice had not been heard, nor his warning heeded. His voice, he didn't want to play for another head coach. Don't fire Mike Brown. But they didn't ask for it. During Brown's extension talks, the organization's waffling on the coach's future had reached Fox. Per league and team sources, the front office asked his opinion. Fox, who had 4 coaches in his several seasons, was clear. He was a strong supporter of Brown and had no interest in another coaching change. Fox had been asking for a structured environment with a level of accountability for years. It felt to him like they were building it. The same thing that Scott Perry and everybody else in the organization is asking this fan base to do now. We're building it, except in this case, you had results. You had 46 wins. You had 48 wins. You had your first playoff appearance in 16 years that went to a first round 7-game series. that you ultimately lost. You had results to stand by. So again, it's like, okay, you're starting to get there. So Fox even said it. After Brown was extended, Fox reiterated the stance publicly. Quote, just having that stability helps me in the long run, I feel like. He said, the air happens that we knew about, and then here's what we get. As Sam Amick put it, in terms of the timing and execution of the firing, this was a 101 course on how to alienate a superstar. Vivek greenlit the decision while on vacation in Cabo. He was there with Angeli and Jeremy Lin, the 10-year retired NBA pro who initially joined the Kings organization as part of the Domantas Sabonis trade in February 2022 and whose relationship with the owner's daughter became public knowledge last October. Angeli, who was once an aspiring pop star who would sometimes perform at Kings games, was hired as the assistant general manager of the Sacramento Kings G League affiliate. We know what ended up happening. Jeremy Lamb was a player at that time. There's been subsequent reporting on what was going on during her time there. So you literally have Vivek Ranadive firing Mike Brown. So there you go. There's your first decision by Vivek Ranadive that absolutely undercuts your general manager in Monty McNair. And then silence from Monty. What's going on? What's happening? Right? Like, what are we doing here? Monty had to call Mike Brown and fire him when Monty did not want to fire Mike Brown. In fact, you hung Monty out to dry too. Monty just sat there silent for a month, and then finally, after the trade deadline, after De'Aaron Fox was traded, they made Monty march out in front of the media, and it was a firing squad.
There, we were focused on the team at that point and turning the season around, and that was at that time that was what we were focused on.
It wasn't in the best interest of the media, to get some type of feedback.
Yeah, understand. From where you're coming from.
Next question.
Monty, how was Fox consulted at all or talked to, or any of the players talked to at all about the decision to move on from Mike? And do you feel that had a impact on ultimately an agreement not being able to be made or a separation happening between the organization and De'Aaron?
No, De'Aaron had nothing to do with the decision on the coaching change. No player did. That was the decision that I made, that the organization, as we discussed, obviously came to, but no players, no.
Mike was the first winning coach here in quite a long time, and you guys understood have a five-game losing streak at the time of the firing. Can you just explain the timing of it, particularly after he was given an extension, and why it seemed like he had such a short leash?
Yeah, obviously we had, I think, high expectations coming into the season, for a variety of reasons. We did start off with some success, but heading into December started hitting a skid. And then I think ultimately, as we're trying to figure out ways to turn the season around, a lot of different things were discussed, but ultimately the 5-game losing streak at home and the Detroit loss, the next day, as we talked through it, that was, we felt we had a season that could be better. And, that was the choice we made at that time. That was the thing that, that we could push to. And, so far I think we've had some success there, but, those were the main factors that were going in at the time. And, the higher expectations things are, the more we expect of ourselves.
So you get the gist of it. He has to answer questions about De'Aaron Fox, the firing, all of which, he's falling on the sword. So that's your first Vivek Ranadive and whoever else decision. I'm not going to link Angeli to it. I'm not going to link Jeremy Lamb to it. Although in this same article, there's an anonymous quote that said, "Someday we are going to be working for Jeremy Lamb." Those within the organization at this point, when there was the closest thing to having some structure, to having some culture, to having some accountability, it just gets blown up. And you have a team, again, 48, 46 wins that really was not in an awful spot, and you didn't have the bad contract. So De'Aaron, and I put it out the summer before that he was not going to accept the extension, in part because he wanted to see how this roster developed. And this was the offseason before De'Aaron was traded. So they continued to work together. And De'Aaron, he went on a podcast. We played that many a times, explaining that he wanted the roster to get better, wants to be championship level. You know, looking back at that time in the Kings saying championship, it was a little far reaching, but it wasn't ridiculous. Was not ridiculous. Oh my gosh. Seriously. Did Rick Adelman pass away? Rick Adelman has passed away. Holy moly. We're talking about coaches. The best coach in modern Kings history. My goodness. Just announced. Adelman was one of the most successful coaches in NBA history, compiling 1,042 wins across 23 seasons as head coach, notably led 5 different franchises: the Portland Trail Blazers, Golden State Warriors, Sacramento Kings, Houston Rockets, and Minnesota Timberwolves, and was enshrined into the Naismith Hall of Fame in 2021. My goodness. I don't know what to say. I mean, just absolute legend here in Sacramento. The perfect model of how it works with a coach, a GM, the admiration the players had for Rick Adelman. Let's go to the share screen right now. Wow. It is true. NBA Coaches Association, the membership of the National Basketball Coaches Association joins the NBA family in mourning the passing of legendary head coach and Hall of Famer Rick Adelman. Brilliant basketball mind. You know, NBA basketball is X's and O's, and it's personality management. And Rick Adelman did both so well. The people that he surrounded himself with: Mark Spears, rest in peace, Hall of Famer, outstanding coach who was beloved by his players, great man. I'm not really sure what to say. Frankie, absolute legend. Just what I said, best coach in Sacramento Kings history. Man, everybody reacting. Rip coach. Yep. Is Rick Adelman a top 10 coach? I don't know. I haven't thought about it. What I do know is this this is something tonight that make sure you're here. Grant spent many years around Rick Adelman, not anywhere near the time I spent around him from the stands and watching on TV. Grant will be here tonight. I'll be with him. We will reflect on the passing of Rick Adelman, just absolute legend here in Sacramento. Best coach in the history of the Sacramento Kings. Hands down. Floored right now. Thoughts go out to David Adelman, obviously, his son, head coach of the Nuggets. You know, it doesn't. I was gonna keep talking. Yep, exactly right, Tay. Yeah, it is. Rick Adelman. He's one of those coaches that you just never heard somebody throw under the bus. You know, like Yusuf Nurkic today saying, "Oh, Mike Budenholzer, he's an alcoholic." Like you just didn't see that stuff back then, and you know, 1998 to 2006 forever changed this fan base and forever changed this team. So, man, thoughts and prayers to Mary Kay and David. Mary Kay, his wife, 56 years. Here's the deal. I'm gonna wrap this up because we are gonna have Grant, and I'll be back with him 7:00 tonight. Certainly, very, very Rick Adelman heavy probably show. Memories from Grant, insights from Grant. So make sure you join us tonight, 7:00. We will reflect on the sad news of Rick Adelman passing. We'll pick up our thoughts tomorrow on what's going on with Vivek Ranadive. The end of the story, what I was going to get to is we've had multiple decisions that have been made unilaterally. So it doesn't compare to what's going on with the news that's breaking. So we'll pick it up tomorrow. You'll want to do that. We've got plenty of time before the finals. Don't forget Jerry Reynolds Wednesday. Certainly he is going to have plenty memories of Rick Adelman. But in the meantime, let's dismiss. And we'll be back 7:00 tonight talking about the weekend. Most of all, talking about Rick Adelman and really what he meant to this fan base, what he meant to the NBA community, his colleagues, Grant being one of them. So we'll be back. Maybe we can grab Jerry for tonight too. I'll see what we can do. But yeah, join us 7 p.m. tonight. Grant will be here. Thanks for being here. Damn. All I can say, damn, that's never what you want to see. Never what you wanted to see. What a legacy Rick Adelman leaves, especially here in Sacramento. What a legacy. All right, we will see you 7:00 tonight. Make sure you join us back. Thanks for being here. We'll pick up where we left off yesterday here on the King's Court. But before that, Grant and I, 7:00. Have a great couple hours. Appreciate you being here. 7:00. Grant, Ryno, we're back. Court is dismissed.